Okay, otherwise let's get into the next topic, that is arrays. So if you see arrays and strings, we're just talking about the basics here, and there will be some in the part 3 there will be again array and string. So there we will discuss in deep about the arrays and string. So now we will just focus on the basics of array today. So let me create a package for array. You can directly create a package while creating a class. Here it is how. Here you can declare the package. So if it is a new package, it will automatically create. Otherwise, it will be taken into the old package itself. Now it created a new package and new class inside of it. And create a main method. Now we will just discuss about the array first. So what exactly is an array and why we will be using array and what is the purpose of an array basically. And after that we will discuss about the syntax and rules and regulations, everything. And what is the purpose of an array? So I wanted to store some values. So let's say int can only support single value. It cannot support two values, right? Let's say I wanted to store 10 comma 15. So will you able to store it in a string? No. You can only store it in you can only store one value in a integer or else anything, any data type. But in an array, you can able to store a group of elements. So that's the purpose of an array. And yeah, there will be some rules and regulations and the syntax wise we will discuss now. And if you want it, it's a kind of a group of elements. Let's see how it is. To show you in a paint. So it will be always storing in a form of blocks, and each block you will call it as an index. From now onwards, we will be talking about the index. Let's say you wanted to store a group of elements like this. Let's say you wanted to store a 5 elements. All are integers. Let's assume. So these are the elements you wanted to store. It's a group of elements. So you can graphical way you can think like this is an array, right? And it will be a blocks of a storage, and each storage will be specific to a particular element, and it will be only, I mean, we will be talking about only indexes right now onwards. So what is the index of this? So always index will be started from 0 in arrays. Always it will start from and 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is how you have to treat each block. How can you call each block? How can you put the data in each block? So by using indexes only. You cannot, I mean, you have to have some mechanism to store and to retrieve the values in array, right? You have to know the location of an array, right? You have to know the block location. So the location, the address, you can call it as index. By using index, you can able to determine what value inside of that index, and you can able to value inside of an index as well. So if you observe, always the index will be started from 0, 0 to length minus 1. If you observe the what is the length of your array, you can see it's a 5. Length is 5. The starting index will be always 0 and the ending index will be depends on the length. Depends on the length, and it is I mean ending index will be length minus 1. So whatever is the length, it could be that minus 1. So if it is a 10 size array, 10 minus 1 will be the 10 minus 1 will be the last array index. Okay, so this is a normal, I mean, this is the basics of an array. And look wise, we will go to the syntaxes. How it will be stored. This is a way it will be stored, and just we will discuss about the syntaxes and how we will store in each block and how we will create an array first of all. How we will store, how we will retrieve the value. Everything we will discuss in today class. Let's see. Now, what is the syntax? What is the syntax to create an array? And even before that, you cannot store you cannot store a heterogeneous values inside of a array. It's a homogeneous, like in the same kind of a data you can keep. If you create an array with the integer array, let's say you created integer array, you can able to save only integers. You cannot keep string, you cannot keep double, you cannot keep boolean, right? So that's a restriction in arrays. So, and there is a limit restriction also. While creation of an array, you have to define a length of it. So once the length is defined, you cannot able to change it, and you cannot able to, length will be fixed. If you wanted to store one more element, let's say 10, you fixed it, but you wanted to store 11th element. No, you cannot. That's a disadvantage in array. Length is a disadvantage, and type is a disadvantage. Once you define the type, you cannot change the type, and you cannot add another type of element instead of that array. So, but it is useful. But we will discuss the disadvantages in the third part, collections. It will solve these two purposes, and let's discuss about only uh, array part. So, what is the syntax? So, data type, you have to define a data type here. This is a block, and identifier in the sense name of a data type. An array equals to new data type size. So this is how you have to define an array. Comment out. This is a, this is a this is a syntax. This is the way you can able to create an array. So let's see. There is a three ways actually. All are same. We will discuss about one by one. Both are similar only. Let's see. First one is a data type. I would like to create an integer array. Integer, keep a bracket, and give the identifier as an array equals to new. Again, an integer. What is the size of it? What is the size? You can define it as a 5. So this is how the array will be created. Now array is created. That's an integer array. You cannot add anything, any other type of a data to this array, and the size is limited. Size is fixed. It's a 5 length. You can use 5 or else 3, 4, 1, 2, or else you cannot use that. That's your choice. But you cannot able to add a sixth element. It's not allowed. Okay. Now, what is the second way of a syntaxical way? You can define int here, and array you can give the brackets for array. Both are same. Both are same. You can give the name as array 2. So this is also will work. Syntaxical wise, this bracket can give for a data type and as well as for identifier. But most probably we will use the first approach. But you have to know about it. And array is created. Array is created like this without data. It's created an empty array as of now. And if you wanted to store some values inside of that particular blocks, each block, how can you do that? So I just wanted to keep an array of, how can you keep zero index? Let's say this is zeroth index, first, two, three, it's a 4, length minus 1, length is a 5, that minus 1. And if you see, how can you keep a value inside of a particular array index? So I just wanted to keep a value inside of a 0. You can keep randomly also, that's not a problem. You can directly keep in a second index. Let's see that. So this is a way to keep a value inside of a second index. Array of 2 will be defined in the left side, and in the right side, you can give the value of it. You just given the value of 30, right? And getting the value is how? You have to get the value. Just keep the array of 2 in the right side and take the value from it. Okay. So this is how you will read the value. This is how you set the value, and this is how you read the value from an array. A particular index you can mention here. So let's try to print the value. Whatever you set the value, let's check it out that value is coming or not in the second index. It's a 30, it is coming. And if you try to put 3, third index, in third index, what is there? In third index, you are not keeping any value. If you're not keeping any value, it will take automatically default value. Default value for int is 0. So that value will come. It's a 0. No values defined inside of it. And this is how you will do. And let's try to get for a 5 index, fifth index. Is there any fifth index if the length is 5? Is there any chance index 5 will be there
No.
if the size is 5? No. You cannot have a index 5. So if you try to access an index 5, let's see what will happen. So it will give you an exception. Array index out of bounds exception. Array index out of bounds exception. And you're trying to add use the 5 here, fifth index. And it is giving a meaningful information. Array index out of bound exception, the index you use it, and where it happened exactly. Learn Java basics array dot array example. This is a fully qualified name for a class. Fully qualified name is package with the name of the class. Java dot basic dot array dot array example dot main. Main is a method where exactly inside of it, 8th line. If you click on it, it will directly show you. So this is the way. This is a place it is giving an exception. So you can just check it out. Where is going wrong like that. So as of now, just keep 2, or else I'm just commenting out these 3 code, and I wanted to keep all the elements. Let's say if it is a 5, I can directly write array of 0, array of 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Let's see what will happen if it is 100. You cannot write, right? So in this case, you can use a for loop. You can use a for loop if you wanted to loop. If you wanted to iterate all the elements, all the indexes, you can use a for loop. Just remember, it's not like what is what. It's like whenever when to use and what to use. So this is how you have to remember the each concept. It's not like each concept. Okay, we are going through the concepts and just learning the concept and running the program. Output is coming. It's not like that. It's like whenever you are learning some concept, you have to know when to use and what to use. So then you will understand properly and you can able to use it properly. See here, the situation is you wanted to loop all the elements. You wanted to give the loop based on some starting element and ending element. It will be index. I mean, based on a condition, it will be loop each and every element, and you can use it for an array. So let's see how can we use it array. So this is how you can able to use it in array. It will start from 0. Index will always start from 0, and array dot length you can arr arr. Let's see. Let's comment out this for seconds, few seconds. So just print array dot length. So how much the value it will give you just the length. The length is 5. Okay. So if you see here, we are using a less than. If you use a less than or equals to, it will take that length also, 5 also. But we are just using the less than. So what will happen if you use a less than? It will not take that value. It will just take that before that value. So it will start from a 0. 0 is less than 5. 1 is less than 5. 2, 3, 4 is less than 5. That's it. If you go for a 5 is less than 5, false. Right? So it will loop all the indexes now. We are just looping all the indexes in our array. Now you can able to initialize the values for a array. So how can you initialize a value? So this is how you can able to initialize a value. But you cannot use a 2 for every iteration. You have to use a I here. If you use a I will be changed for each and every iteration. So for the first iteration, it will be 0. For second iteration, it will be 1. So dynamically, you are inserting the values instead of a blocks of an array. So statically, you are placing a 30. Statically, every block will contain a 31, right? Got it? Getting so far? Everyone understood till now? Okay. So if you wanted to keep a dynamic value instead of a 30, let's say I just wanted to go for um, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, plus 1 like that. So create a integer value outside of a for loop. And if you create outside, the value cannot be started from a 10 again. So you can use a k, and here you just keep it as a k plus plus. So what will happen if you use a k plus plus in the very first iteration? In the very first iteration, I equals to 0, array of 0, that means first block, 0 is the next block. Which value it will take? Either 10 or 11. Let me know. It's a post increment. Which value it will take? Whether it
10.
will be taking 10 or 11.
10, 10.
Yeah, it will take 10 because it's a post increment. First, it will
Post.
place the value in a blue color, whatever I selected. It will place the value. It will place the value of k. That means 10. And after placing or after completion of this line, it will just increment by 1. So 11. The next time, k value will be 11 and will place there and it will be incremented by 1. It will be 12. So like that. Okay. So array will be initialized from 10 to 14. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So if you see 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay. So now initialization is happened. I mean, initialization is happened. And how can you read the values? And even before that, I would like to discuss here everywhere. This is some kind of object it is created. Objects will be discussed in our later classes. And if you see, so this is a declaration. So ARR is a type of an integer array. It's an integer array. And initialization will happen here. One object is created for an array with the size of a 5. So this we will discuss later, objects and all the stuff. But here also declaration initialization will happen. And now the values also initialized inside of an array. Now how can you able to read the values? So again you have to use a for loop to iterate all the indexes. Let's iterate all the indexes by using for loop. So let's use that same for loop. So int I equals to 0, I have to start from a 0, I less than array dot length. So this is the condition I have to keep, and I plus plus. If you use this condition here and here, so it will not exceed the maximum index, right? It will not exceed. So there will be no chance you are getting a array index out of bounds exception. Whether you can change the length or anything dynamically, it is placing the length of an array here. So it will not get. I mean, you will not get into the situation that will place array index out of bounds of exception. You cannot see that exception if you use the proper dynamically dynamically looping the elements of an array. So it will start from a 0, end with the length minus 1. So now your for loop is ready to read the values. And how can you able to read the value? This is how you will able to read the value, right? This is how. So copy this, place it. Either you can store it in some value, some variable, or you can use a variable after that, or else you can directly place it in a system.out.println. So just keep it in a system.out.println directly. So instead of 2, you can use a I. So this is how you have to use dynamically looping the values by using an index. I is the index here, starting with the 0 and ending with the length minus 1. For each iteration, it will give you the value from array. Okay, just try to print it. 5 is leave it. That's a length. Again run it. So length is 5, and after that elements are printed from 10 to 14, right? So this is how you have to create an array, and you have to get the length, and you have to keep an elements inside of an array. You have to retrieve the values from array. So any doubts till now, till here? Anyone, just let me know. We cannot use a string value. Let me know what is the doubt, Shiva?
Second for loop is executed, sir.
Sorry. Repeat that.
Second for loop is executed, sir.
Yeah. Second for loop is executed. First for loop initialization. We are not printing anything. Just we are doing initialization.
Okay, sir.
Just keeping the value so that it will not print anything, right? So it will not give you any output for this. It will just do in a background. You cannot able to see the output
Okay,
of this. And second for loop, you can just see the output from the blocks, or else you can directly keep like you can directly keep the value. Just a printing statement you can keep placing value in. You can dynamically keep I index. If you wanted to keep the dynamically value, I value, if you wanted to print, you can directly use like this, double quotes, and in between I to append this plus plus. Okay. Now in I index, okay, this is how you will do I index, and you can keep the value as well. Directly use a k. That's not a problem. Values k. Anyway, k will be placed here, right? So that's why I use a k here. So you can able to see the output of it, and spelling is correct or not, I don't know. Okay, now just execute it. So this is executed by the first for loop, placing the value in 0th index. That's the value is 10, and 11 in the first, 12 in the second, 13 in the third, 14 in the fourth index. You can able to see all the values, right? This is how you can execute the. You can how to read array without defining a size. You cannot. If you don't, if you don't define the array size, how can we? So no, if you are not defining the size, it will give a compilation error. So it's a mandatory. As I said, that's a disadvantage. So that we will discuss. That we will cover the disadvantage in the collections. That's in the third part. As of now, we cannot. I mean, we have to define a size. It will give variable must provide either dimension. It will give. It has to have a size. That's a collection. Array list is a collections. So array list and collections classes will solve this problem, but not an array. Arrays having these two disadvantages, like proper. I mean, defining the size in a compilation time itself, and it's a homogeneous. It's not a heterogeneous. So these two are the disadvantages for array, and these two will be solved in a collections. Got it? So now having a size, define the size. Okay, now if you see, you can able to change the length also. That's not a problem, because we are dynamically doing everything, this and this. Just change the size, it will work. Change it to 10 and run it. It will automatically work. If you see, placing the 0 the next is 10, 11, 12, 13, 15 till 19. You can able to read the values, because you are not nowhere you are doing a hard-coded value. You are using a dynamical value here. Array dot length. It will automatically dynamically it will fetch the value of array dot length, array length of an array. So yeah, this is it. in array. And again, I told this is a one way to declare the array, and second way is like a, I will just comment out. So here you can use a bracket, you can remove it here. So this is the second way. And what about the third way? There is a way you can define an array, and as well you can able to initialize an array values with the values. So directly in a single line. So int array2 equals to, you can directly use this. Just remember. So this will automatically create an array, and as well as it will allocate the values inside of an array as well. Once the interpretation is done for this line, it will find out a length. Based on a length, it will create the array first, and each element by comma separated will be placed inside of each block. So that's what will happen finally. And yeah, you can directly use this. Let's see. Use the array2 here, array2 dot length. You can use array2 here, right? Just try to print it. Same, it will be the same, but in a single line it will be done. It will be working in a single line. See, 1 2 3 4 5 is coming, the last one. So this is a third way. I mean, if you have the values ready, you can directly use like this. Or else you cannot use this. You just need to go like this. Okay, this is what about the array. Anybody has any queries? Understood so far? Any, if you have any questions, then ask me. This is a pretty simple concept, and you have to know about it. Is just like a syntax. Get familiar with syntax and practice this. And the two techniques are there, right? Setting the value and getting the value by the for loop. Just get familiar with the for loop, how you are starting the value and how you are ending up the value. Array dot length. So get familiar with that. So yeah, any questions? Anyone? Understood so far, right? Okay, so we will discuss a string concept tomorrow. That's the basics of a string. And yeah, yeah, that's it for today class, guys. Okay, let's meet tomorrow again. Thanks for joining. Bye. Take care. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.